Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion, and it is finished. The round that is the opening round of the World Cup 2026 edition. And there were some really interesting games, exciting games on this last day, which was Saturday, match day 17. And we're looking ahead to the knockout round of 32, which we'll talk about in a moment. Let's begin as we always begin by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, and affirming that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So going into Saturday, there were just three groups that needed to play. And by having those groups play, we would see the full brackets, the full 32 teams that will be in the knockout round. We would see that at the end. And it has passed. We had 6 games today. I watched about 7 hours straight of soccer today. It was fantastic. Enjoyed every minute of it. Well, almost every minute. We'll get to that here in a moment. But it was quite a day. So, to recap briefly and then look ahead to what is coming. And I want to talk about something that we haven't talked about yet in these videos that I've been making for you, perhaps a novice soccer fan, perhaps someone who's new to this whole thing called world football. I want to talk about offsides and how different it is in this World Cup than any other time in any other World Cup, and really most soccer matches prior to this. So let's talk about today. So we had in the first game, for first pair of games, the early one, Panama and England. England had already gone through, but they wanted to go out with a bang to secure the lead in the group. Croatia and Ghana were playing at the other time, and Croatia, aging team, they were great in the last 2 World Cups, but this time they were looking kind of old, a little decrepit, but they got through. And Croatia came in second in the group, and Ghana did get that third place, which means those 3 teams are advancing. Panama going home. Then we got to the middle games, and this, quite honestly, was probably one of the most exciting games that ended with no score. And that would be the Colombia-Portugal game. So why that was significant was because Colombia was at the top of the group and Portugal was second. And they were really battling because whoever wins the group gets a second place team in the next round. So it's important. So they were battling, they were fighting 0-0, and there was a goal in the game, but it was called back because of offsides. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, we've already seen this happen in the reverse with the U.S. men versus Australia. You might remember that. The second goal they got in that 2-0 win, it was originally called offsides, and the flag went up, as it typically does, and the ref called it after the goal was scored, but then they went to the VAR, which, fun fact, virtual assistant referee, or video assisted referee, excuse me, not virtual. So they went to the VAR and said, no, the U.S. player was not offside, goal given. Well, today the opposite happened. Colombia scored the goal, and VAR showed the man offsides. And what is remarkable about this particular World Cup, so just very briefly, what offsides means is that if you are ahead of the ball, all right, at the time the ball is kicked, so that's the key thing is when the ball is kicked. If you are ahead of the ball and there are fewer than 2 players between you and the goal line, and you either receive the ball or you are in a position where it is advantageous for you, for your team. So that's key, because there was another goal this evening that was originally called back for offsides, but then was given because the ref determined that the player who was called for offsides was not gaining this advantage. Okay, so that's the rule. Offsides has always been a tricky thing to call. It's always been a judgment call, because if you are even with the player and your entire body has to be even with the player, remember that, that's going to come up here in a second, then you are onside. And again, it is at the moment the ball is kicked. So just timing when the ball is kicked is tricky. So what's different this time, and you may have seen this and kind of wondered about, like, how are they doing it? Well, every player is being tracked. So every player is wearing a basically like a GPS kind of tracker. And if you have ever seen when if they take their jerseys off, they're wearing this like sports bra thing. It looks kind of odd the first time you see it. That's where the tracker is. It's in the middle of their back. That's holding it into their body. So the ball also has a tracker in it. So the ball and those trackers in the players are speaking to each other. So you kind of know where each other is. And then there is, as the game is going, computer AI, I guess, is generating the players on the field. So when you see the offsides call, there is that graphic of the two players, the one who would be the offensive player, the one that would be the defensive, and you see that kind of, virtual wall that shows if the player is behind the wall, onside, or through this virtual wall, offside. But that may be more than you need to know, but it is significant because the Colombian goal, when they called it back and then they showed that graphic, that virtual video game like graphic, literally the dude's toe was offside. And one of the announcers joked that, if he was a size 8 instead of a size, 12, whatever, that would not have been the case. So that is what we are able to do now with this technology. And, some people would say, well, it's taken away the randomness of the game. I would say it's making calls legit, in this era where, we're just kind of living in a world where it's kind of whatever you feel, everything seems to be subjective. There isn't objective offside law that is really hard to get right when it's just, a ref or a lines person, eyeballing it. But with this kind of technology, it's going to get it right. So if a goal is awarded, then we know that the person was onside. So again, that's going to play into the rest of the tournament. And we've already seen goals taken back or goals not taken back because of this technology. All right, so in that second game, Congo, DR Congo, we just call it Dr. Congo, that they also won, and that would be, they are moving ahead as well. So we have Colombia, Portugal, and Congo. Now, the most interesting game, and a game with some history, was the last game of the night. I talked about this yesterday. We knew Argentina was going to crush Jordan, and they did, 3-1. Could have been worse. Argentina didn't play a lot of their players. Messi, the greatest of all time, came on late, halftime, scored a free kick. So he is now, I think, scored in 7 World Cups. I mean, he just keeps setting records. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But that game was not as important as the other game. That was the one I watched. It was Algeria and Austria. All right. So a little bit of background, and this is the lore, this is the history that casual fans or even semi-casual fans may not know. So back in 1982, the World Cup, West Germany and Austria, all right, remember Austria, this is kind of amazing how this worked out, okay? So Austria and West Germany basically fixed a match. They knew that if the two teams tied, they would both go through to the next round. So basically, and you can watch this, there's videos of this, basically, well, actually, it wasn't a tie. It was Germany, West Germany, getting a 1-0 game, right? Because the other game in that group had already been played. So basically, they just passed the ball around for 30 minutes and most of the game. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So at that point, FIFA realized they needed to play both games simultaneously. So this kind of thing couldn't happen. But tonight, oh, and by the way, this is the other note, it was none other than Algeria that got shut out or left out because of that fixing and that just cheating basically, right? So tonight, as Algeria and Austria were playing, they knew that if they tied, both teams would advance. But if one of them won, the other team would not advance. So this was and Iran would be the team that would, if both of those two teams, Algeria and Austria, tied, then Iran would be eliminated. So here was the deal. It was a back and forth game. It ended up 2-2. There was like 7 minutes of stoppage time, and about 10 minutes left in the game. It seems like the two teams just decided they were going to pass the ball around. And you got to watch this because it is really quite something. It was amazing to watch it in real time. So Algeria is just across the half in Austria's side of the field. And they're passing the ball back and forth. Austria is just kind of standing there basically. And you can just see that the thinking is, if we tie, both of us go through, and Iran is going to be eliminated. Well, guess what, y'all? And I was listening to some commentators. They think it was a trick. They think Algeria set up Austria because, wouldn't you know it, boom, boom, boom. There were two sharp passes, and Algeria gets the goal, which was amazing. So there's literally like 2 minutes left in the game. We don't know how much more time. In that moment, Iran was out. Iran was in because Austria was out. And you got to think there was some kind of cosmic justice, or maybe Algeria did this, because you could just see the fans of Austria. They knew it was done, and they were over, they were going home. It was staggering. So they put a sub in, an older, tall player, just like the tallest guy on the team. He gets in. There's like maybe 2 minutes left. He gets in. Desperation. They push down Austria. Headball, two headballs back and forth. They score and go nuts. So it's now a 3-3 tie. Both teams go through. And actually, the second place team, who is at this point now Austria, they are going to have a harder group to play than the third place team, which is Algeria. So that's a lot. And if you've made it this far, you are a soccer trooper. But that's what is happening in the World Cup. There's this history, there's this legend, these echoes of the past, and just such a, in my opinion, my humble opinion, a very, very cool thing. All right, we're going to wrap this up. We'll talk tomorrow about the rest of the round of 32, but tomorrow, just one game. It's like they're taking a Sabbath, right? But it's going to be a good one. 3 o'clock Eastern, Canada and South Africa. I want Canada to win. I got their ball here. Here's the Canadian ball right here. I want them to win. It would be amazing, though, if South Africa won, because they have, prior to this, they had never gotten through to the knockout stage. And for them to win a game in the knockout stage, that would be huge. And quite honestly, Canada was going to have a home game. It was going to be in Vancouver, but because Canada could not win their last game, they will be playing in LA, where I don't know if there's more South African fans in LA, but it's not Vancouver. It's not a home game. All right. Whew, I am tired, but I am pumped. It has been a great tournament so far. Exceeded all my expectations, and we're just getting started. Now we are in the brackets. Now it is win or go home. It's when it really gets serious, and I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you are as well. All right, y'all, let's wrap up as we typically do by reminding you that blessings and good, be bold, be well, hold fast, y'all.